Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do another Scottish beer. We're going to go to Edinburgh this time and do what I believe is my fifth visit maybe to Stewart Brewing, and we're having a taste of one of their regular beers today, and this is another one that I actually have just never got around to trying. So we're going to have a taste of the Radical Road today. It comes in at 6.4% and it's described as a triple hop pale ale. I have to admit, at 6.4% though, I would have thought this was getting into IPA territory, but regardless, Stewart Brewing I know do some really quite nice IPAs and pale ales and stuff like this, so I'm sure this one will be a pretty good beer, and it does have pretty decent ratings. I think it was into the 90s on Rate Beer when I had a little look earlier, but should be a really nice beer. And as always, I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stewart before. No doubt there will be some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beers based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Scottish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of your favourite beers and breweries that you would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Stewart Brewing first off then. So Stewart Brewing was founded by Steve Stewart and his wife Jo, and Steve is a graduate of the Heriot-Watt University in Edinburgh, I believe as part of the brewing programme which they have there, which is really quite famous these days. It's produced a hell of a lot of craft brewers and also kind of stillmen as well. But he worked for several breweries, including Base Brewery in Ireland and also in Birmingham, and he worked for the Harpoon Brewery over in Boston, Massachusetts in America for a while too. But while he was working in Birmingham in 1998, Steve built his first microbrewery with the help of his father-in-law, who owns a steel fabrication company. But Steve really wanted to return home to Scotland, and so he left his job with Base in Birmingham and moved to Edinburgh back in 2002, and he started putting things in place to form the microbrewery, and the production began finally in January of 2004, with Steve having developed a lot of his trial brews and having developed a lot of his recipes during his trial brewing period when he had his microbrewery back in Birmingham. So Steve worked hard to secure a bigger production facility, and he eventually settled on a location in the Bilston Glen Industrial Estate, which is on the southern side of Edinburgh. But while this site was being completed, he was brewing his beers at the Strathaven Brewery, and the first batch was produced in Bilston Glen in 2004. But since foundation, these guys have proved to be really quite good actually. This brewery, I think, primarily do pale ales and IPAs. They've got an amber ale as well that they've done too. They're a very, very capable brewery when it comes to that side of things. My one complaint about Stewart Brewing, I guess, a little bit, would be that they don't really experiment with stouts and things all that much. So it would be cool to see them kind of experiment with that a little bit more. But they do have their regular series of beers, and this one is part of the hop series, which has the Capai and the things like that as well. But when it comes to the hoppy beers, these guys certainly do a nice job, especially when they're using the New Zealand hops as well. But they do plan to expand the brewery further in the coming years, and I think that's one of the advantages that Stewart Brewing has, is of course that Stewart's father-in-law is a steel fabricator, so they can get a lot of their equipment for fairly cheap. So that's always a positive thing when it comes to craft brewing. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the brewery just now. As I said, the links to the brewery website and stuff are in the description below. If you want to have a further read about that, you can follow them on Facebook and all this sort of thing. But yeah, and one of the things I should point out about this beer as well is that Stewart Brewing generally have they've changed their artwork recently, so they've really gone for a completely different style of artwork in comparison to what they had before, and I do like the new artwork that they've put on these. It's really quite nice, so I have to say a big thumbs up to them for that. But as I mentioned to you, this one is a 6.4% pale ale. The hops in this one are Magnum, Cascade, Chinook, Yunga, Citra and Simcoe, and it has a malt base of pale and wheat malts. Now I know what you're saying, the Yunga hop is one that I've never heard of before, so I had a wee look up before I filmed the video exactly what this one is. So Yunga is a Polish hop that's derived from Northern Brewer and Marinka, and traditionally it's used as a bittering hop, and it's meant to be quite a nice sort of spicy but also quite noble hop as well. So it should be a really interesting one, and that's one of the great things about craft beer these days, is there's so many yeasts, there's so many malts, there's so many hops and things that you can play with. So it's very, very exciting time. So yeah, does it tell you a little bit about the Radical Road on the side here? Not particularly, it just says it just tells you a little bit about the ingredients and stuff like that. But this one is best before May 2018, so I'm guessing it will be pretty fresh at the time that I'm drinking it. There you can see the Stewart bottle cap on this one. Another wee quick look at the artwork for you there. which you can see is really quite nice. But yeah, without further ado, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Looking forward to this. So yeah, nice smoky opening there, and we'll get it out into the glass. As I've been saying with a couple of these Scottish beers that I've been reviewing recently, I don't know why it's taken me so long to get around to reviewing these. The only explanation, of course, would be that I've been in Sweden the last couple of years, and I think recently I've maybe just had the attitude of like, oh, I've been wanting to review this beer for a while and I've not done it, I'm just actually going to do it this time. But yeah, Radical Road is a fairly easy one to come across from Stewart Brewing. It's some of their other ones that can be a little bit more difficult, but I'll tell you something, as soon as you open this beer up, you really can smell some of these lovely fruity notes. It's the Citra and the Simcoe that are coming straight up to me right away. But as you can see, and as you would kind of expect from a pale ale IPA sort of thing, this one's poured a nice kind of hazy, golden, slightly orangey colour. There's a solid half finger of a frothy white head on this one. It does have a little bit of a creamy tint to it, I would say. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice. I'm not sure, I think it is hazy to some degree, but there is condensation around the glass as well, so I think that's a mixture of what you're seeing. But yeah, let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah, that smells pretty damn good, I have to say. I love it when you've got these nice juicy fruity notes coming out the beer. So with this one, you've definitely got some of the passion fruit that you expect at the Simcoe, and you do have that nice kind of tropical fruit complexity that you would get from the Citra. The Citra always gives you a nice mango note, and you can pick that up, but you can feel on the back end of the nose there's a little bit of lychee and kind of lemon lime, maybe even gooseberry notes in there. It does have that kind of complexity that you expect from the Citra hop. And it's those two hops really that are coming out of the aroma in this one. I guess they've probably been added fairly late in the brew, or late in the boil rather, and that's why you're getting a lot of this aroma out of them. But you can really, they do smell really, really quite nice. So yeah. Other than that, I'd say you can pick up a wee tiny bit of pine resin on this one, which will be from the Chinook. But otherwise, it's got quite a prominent floral aromaticity. To me, this beer smells more juicy than hoppy and bitter, if that makes sense. It's really a more juicy, fruity aroma that's coming out of this one. And when you sugar the beer up a little bit, you can pick up a little bit of that sort of white bready, wheaty malt base that it has as well. You can smell that really nicely underneath it. I always like that about the Stewart Brewing beers. They do have quite a distinctive sort of white bready, wheaty malt base, and it works really, really well, particularly with the Capai actually. I really liked it with those New Zealand hops. But yeah, it's got a really nice fruity aroma. You can pick up a little bit of grapefruit from the Cascade in this one as well, but overall it's mainly, I'm getting more of the Simcoe and the Citra out of this one, which is nice. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you actually try it. But we're going to have a go at this one now. So this one is the Radical Road, a triple hopped pale ale apparently at 6.4% from Stewart Brewing in Bilston Glen in Edinburgh. Let's get stuck in. Slàinte. Yeah, that's a pretty damn good beer. It does have that typical kind of Stewart Brewing feel to it. It's one of the things, as I've always said in these videos, when you have a few beers from a brewer, you do kind of pick up the little traits that they have. The Stewart Brewing beers, when it comes to the more hoppy things, they always just have this little sort of oily characteristic to them, and they've got that smoothness in the malt base as well, and you can definitely pick that up in this beer. The other thing that I would point out about this as well, I was a bit sceptical when it said it's a 6.4% pale ale, because normally that's when you're starting to get into IPA territory. The IPAs and the pale ales and the double IPAs and stuff, they're all related by their kind of hop to malt ratio. But this one I was suspecting would be an IPA more than anything, but from the flavours and from the mouthfeel as well, you really can tell it's an IPA. It doesn't quite have the malt presence that you would expect from an IPA. It's definitely just got that lighter malt base that you'd expect of the pale ale, but it's a higher alcohol content one, which is kind of interesting actually. But yeah, this is really quite nice. So in the middle of your palate, where all the malty flavours are going to come out, you're getting this nice, smooth, white bready character. That just blankets the middle of your tongue, and it just sits there, and I think it gets progressively a little bit more sweeter, or a little bit sweeter as you kind of go along with this one. My English is terrible these days, honestly. Too much thinking in Swedish. But the malt base on this one just gets progressively sweeter as you go along. And I do like that about this. And then you can feel the hoppy bitterness on the edge of your tongue just builds up a little bit as well. So in the back corners of the palate, there's a wee touch of earthiness there, which I think will be from the Yunga hop probably, and probably a little bit of the Magnum as well. So you can feel that little bit of earthy. So as you come further forward along the side of your palate, there's a wee touch of herbal character there. But then as you get to the front corners of the palate, you've got that nice floral aromaticity. It's a little bit spicy as well. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and lemongrassy. And then just behind that, the curve of the tongue there, that's where you get this little oily bubble that I always talk about, where the nice juicy fruits are coming out. And that's really nice. This is one of the things, as I say, I always find the Stewart beers to be quite oily, and I do like that about them, because I think it helps bring out some of the fruity characters a little bit more. I do like the way that they kind of create their mouthfeel. But with this one, you can feel there's a little bit of that grapefruit there just kind of underpinning the beer. You can feel the sort of the Cascade hops a little bit just underpinning it, and on top of that you start to get the mangoes from the Citra and the passion fruit from the Simcoe. And they just go together really nicely, and as the flavour progresses, there's almost a wee kind of touch of orange, I think, coming out of this one, which is quite unusual actually, because you wouldn't really associate that with any of the hops in this beer. But it does become a little bit orangey and kind of citrusy, which is really interesting. But later on in the flavour, you can pick up a little bit of that lychee and almost a gooseberry note. It's maybe a little bit of a limey character as well that starts to come out at it. There's quite a bit of fruity complexity to this one as you go further on with it. But yeah, the basic thing to take away from this is that it's a nice beer. If you like a nice kind of oily, hoppy IPA, more kind of leaning towards the juicy, fruity sort of things, you are certainly going to enjoy this one. The way that the floral character comes out on this is quite interesting too. It just starts to push its way out a little bit more as your mouth adjusts to the beer. And the malt base, as I said, was very simple, but you can feel that the wheaty notes just coming out and just being that little bit sweet as you go further into it. But overall, in terms of a paleo, it is really nice. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and I would love to try it on tap actually, and just and see how it comes across. It really would suit. This is quite a nice summery beer. This one's got a little bit of a higher alcohol content to it, so it is maybe not one that you quite want to session in that sense, but it's really quite good, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say mid-bodied. The carbonation on this one is fairly smooth. Like I was saying, it's quite an oily mouthfeel that this beer has. There's a good bit of hoppy bitterness to it. It's not going to blow your head in terms of IBUs though. There's a lot of juicy fruity character as well, and the malt base is fairly smooth, but it does get just that little bit sweeter as you kind of go through the beer. But overall, another really solid beer from Stewart Brewing, and I wouldn't expect anything less. So I do need to have a look at their range and see about what next one I'm going to do, because I think I've actually done most of the hop series now, but hopefully they're producing some more beers soon and I can review them for you here, because I really enjoy doing them. So yeah, so once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media. Make sure you follow Stewart Brewing on Facebook, have a look at their website and all this kind of thing. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you've tried it yourself, and let me know what your favourite beers from these guys are as well. And do let me know of any other little microbreweries that are popping up in Edinburgh, because there's loads of them popping up these days, and it'd be great to review some of their beers too. So until the next time, it's Slangy just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. Cheers.